Okay, Town of New Paltz Planning Board, January 12th. Form check for January 26th. Okay, so far we have a form. November 10th minutes. I wasn't gonna have a motion to, you know what, we're gonna have to hold off.
Yes.
Okay.
If you vote. If you vote, hold on.
Okay, December 8th minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the December 8th minutes?
Smooth.
Okay. Second,
Second.
okay,
Third.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We'll try next time for November 10th. Is there someone here for public comment? You are, okay.
Thank you. My name is Barbara Stemke. I live in New Paltz, and I have something to tell you that you probably don't know about, because the federal government, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, and the Congress in Washington is keeping it a secret. However, to this date, 3,000 people have signed on in comments to the FCC. Some opposing it, like me, and I hope you, and some in favor of it, like the telecom industry. Did you know that the Federal Communications Commission and the House of Representatives have current bills on their dockets which would take away home rule? And that's your job. You're the planners and the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Zoning Board. That's your job. Your jobs would be kind of minimized with this legislation, because when it comes to siting cell towers across the United States of America, in this new legislation, local communities will have little to no say. The Federal Communication Commission will be in charge of where cell towers go. And they want a lot of cell towers. They want to make cell towers like mushrooms all over the United States of America. If you're a property owner, your property value might go way down. If you are sensitive to the radiation that comes from cell towers, 5G and 6G cell towers, you might be sick because of these cell towers. And the FCC will have the right to put a cell tower on your house or your building. And they'll have eminent domain. They've written these laws so that every possible scenario is in their favor and not in the favor of the local communities, like New Paltz. And I have a sheet to give you, each of you. And it gives some basic facts, gives the name, the number of the legislation. The FCC docket, you don't have to write it down unless you want to, is 25-276. It's a sweeping rulemaking proposal. This is changing the rules of where industries, infrastructure, cell towers, and maybe other things coming along down the line will be located. Where is going to be up to the FCC, not the towns and localities. So this FCC docket is a sweeping rulemaking proposal that would dramatically expand federal preemption. It would force rapid approvals, and we know how fast they are now. Eliminate meaningful community participation and allow wireless facilities to be placed almost anywhere. And then there's the horrible House of Representatives 2289. This is a bill that would let federal agencies and telecom companies override local governments, eliminate key environmental, and that's NEPA, that's the the body of that supposedly has some standards for the environment, well, they're going to be way weaker. They're weak now. They're going to be much weaker. So anyway, it would eliminate key environmental NEPA and historic preservation. That's NHPA reviews, eliminated. You can't even review. Won't be able to review or plan. Well, I don't know. You could plan, but you might not be able to review. And it would make it easier to expand cell towers and equipment with little notice or public input. And then the House of Representatives has 6 additional bills so far, in which Congress is advancing these 6 bills that would greatly expand federal control over wireless deployment. It sounds like a war. Deployment, and limit the ability of local governments to regulate where wireless facilities are installed. So if it's in the plans of the FCC and it's a playground or a church or a house of worship or a daycare center or a nursing home or a multifamily building, well, they put this Homeland Towers put a cell tower at 60 Jansen Road, and we did our best to fight it, but it got through anyway. So that's how it's going to be. They're not going to even let us fight it or oppose it. Together, these actions are threaten community and environmental health, safety, privacy, property values, and the basic right of residents to decide what belongs in their own neighborhoods. So we're asking you, the planning board and the town board and the supervisor, to tell Congress to vote no on HR 2289. That's House of Representatives. And that means telling Senator Chuck Schumer and Assemblyman Pat Ryan. Tell the FCC and Congress not to adopt the new FCC rules. Tell Congress to oppose these other 6 numbered bills. And I am asking you to make your voice heard as part of the official record. If you individuals, as private citizens on the board or in the room, want to oppose this, you go to the FCC website and you can post a comment. And if the planning board and the zoning board and the town board of New Paltz want to take a position, you can do that too. And I recommend opposing these laws, but you can read them. I'm handing this to you, each one of you. You can read about it, and there's nothing good in it. And we really don't even need more cell towers. We've got low level satellites in the sky, and we've got a lot of cell towers out there. And then we're told to alert your local officials, which we're doing now, and submit your comments on your community's behalf. And if you go to the website that I'm handing you, there's a sample letter available in Microsoft Word, Google Doc, and PDF format, which can be adapted to the particulars of your community. And we sure have some scenic areas here and historic areas and nice neighborhoods. And the poor people off in back of Jansen Road, they're stuck with the cell tower. So we know it can happen. So we're asking you to spread the word too. And when you get this, there's a flyer that you can download that says "Stop the Federal Cell Tower Takeover." Your voice and your presence in your community can help stop this unprecedented federal wireless power grab. Make sure your community knows what's at stake. And these laws were put together during November and December, when people and families were thinking about holidays and family time. That's when laws were put out. And you didn't see anything about it in the newspapers or on TV, even though the proposed laws were written. And they're fast tracking this. they had a December 31st deadline to submit a comment to the FCC. And was your family looking at the latest news about what the proposed laws that Congress and the FCC have? Were you aware of that? No. And they've since, the FCC has since extended the deadline to Wednesday, 2 days from today, January 15th, when anybody, towns, planning boards, individual people can submit a comment to the FCC opposing these draconian, inhumane set of rules. It's changing the name of the game with how you guys will operate. Zoning boards of appeals and zoning boards, especially when it comes to industries coming into town. You know, you might have private things that are not an industry, but industries, you know, to me, this opens the door to data centers, lithium ion battery, storage facilities. Nobody wants those in their town, but we won't have a choice with this law. If the federal government wants it to be, because they take orders from the telecom companies, it will be, and you won't have a voice.
Well, we don't have much time, right? We have 2 days. So if you give us those, we'll look them over individually. I don't think there's time for us to
Okay.
make
As a body, yeah.
as a body to do anything.
But you could make a statement if you want to, you know, and let the public know you heard me and that this is something important to you. That, I mean, something that makes sense to oppose it. It's, and, also, I guess I didn't make enough. Let me see. This is the next one. There's you. Thank you. And, everyone get one? Yeah. So I sent each one of, I sent the whole planning board. Let me see, this is mine. But I can take a.
It's okay, I can get a copy from.
You
Steve.
can?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an extra one? Okay, okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so I sent you all an email today.
I saw the
I'm
email.
Barbara Stemke.
Yes.
From New Paltz. And there's a lot of, there are a few links to expert evaluation of these proposals and what it will mean for communities, for individuals who are sensitive to electromagnetic radiation and people who are sensitive to electromagnetic radiation, they don't even go to meetings like this. They don't shop. They don't go out. They just have to find a safe place to live. They're really like handicapped people. And
I just think that your best bet is to tell your friends to get on social media
yeah,
and do something, because as
Yeah.
a board,
yeah,
we would have to do some major legwork.
Yeah.
To do anything or come to an agreement, and I'm not even sure that we can. Our attorney
Yeah,
is
it's really
here.
outside the scope of the authority of the
Oh.
planning board.
Yeah.
In town, this is more of a town board matter. If they want to respond to
oh,
the
oh,
federal open comment period, that wouldn't be a planning board.
oh, I was there. I was at the town board reorganization meeting
Okay.
Thursday.
Oh, good.
Okay, but at least you know about it. You can
No,
say you heard
totally.
it. You heard about it.
Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for letting me talk.
Thank you. Okay, subdivision 203 South Ohioville Road. So where should we start? You have
Well-
something for us?
Yeah, I
The
mean,
ENCD
I just
has
really
something
wanted
for
to,
us? Our consultants might have something for us, so we can start with you. How's that?
sounds good. I basically just wanted to kind of formalize any discussion from from the site visits from December sixth and December seventh. That way we can continue to advance the plans in terms of the engineering associated with them. So we'd have to be doing soils testing for sewage disposal systems and for stormwater management. So if there was anything that the planning board saw at those December sixth and December seventh site visit that we should know about that might alter the layout, I would want to know that now so I can, focus my testing after we make any changes associated with that. So that was a big point we wanted to go through. And, procedurally, the lead agency period has passed now, so the planning board, assuming there haven't been any objections, could deem itself a lead agency for the project. And the ENCB, I'm glad you mentioned it. Is that the Is that the
environmental board and we have a representative here. Did you read the report?
Is that the one that was on Munico Lab about the site visit?
Yes,
Yeah, I did. Yeah, okay,
okay.
got that. I just want to make sure that that was from them because I couldn't actually tell who that was from. I
Okay.
didn't know if that was just a collaborative
No,
discussion from the planning board that was given to us or, okay.
Okay, so, we can hear from them now if you want.
Sure,
Is that,
yeah,
you're
absolutely,
good?
yeah.
yes. You can,
I can bring the chair.
Yeah.
you're not Jennifer, so.
Hello.
I
think we met.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yes, yeah. It was a very cool day. We're all bundled up a little bit more than we are now.
That was the day, then the next few days.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm not gonna go through it all.
no, but you can bring up,
I want to
think-
bring up the main
Yeah,
pieces
yeah.
and share some of the conversations that we had as the NCD
Okay.
and what we looked at, unfortunately, only I was able to go to the site visit, so I was trying to share with the rest of the board what was there, and we did not have a meeting in December, so we did a lot of this over email and collaboration, and so that's why this is a slightly longer piece than we might have done otherwise. The first part of this is really just context, which is just the site, our responsibilities in terms of the protection of the groundwater, protection of the vegetation areas, and looking out for the preservation of open space. There are two, it was well documented on the maps, but there's two on what were called on-site pockets of wetland, as well as a significant area along the road that falls within that 100-foot that buffer zone from the wetlands that are on the other side of the road, but they are connected by the conduit, the culvert that goes from that wetland area over into the area. We did have a question about on the documentation that said that the subdivision was just vacant and younger trees. Just looking at the site, both visiting there was obviously a load of trees that were not just younger trees. And looking at the aerial views, there is, from 2001, a lot of that area is still well forested. So I think just wanted to clarify that it's not just smaller, younger trees. There is quite a lot of well-established natural woodland areas there that have been there for several decades. 2001 would be 25 years ago. On the application, short form question 12B, there was also reference to an archaeological sensitive area, and yet there was no additional detail about that. There were stone walls that it's really hard. We don't know the historic significance of them, but it was just noted because that 12B question said there was historic things. It would be great to know what those historic areas are, so that we can understand that. And then when we got into our evaluation, there are significant areas of steep slopes on the property. And according to our code, the intent of the town of New Paltz is to preserve steep slopes to the greatest extent possibly practicable. Ensuring the preservation of steep slopes is what ensures that we don't have detrimental effects on that. And it is, according to Article 140.135, unlawful to create disturbances, move any trees more in a diameter of 4 inches on those steep slope areas, measured at that height. So when we were looking at all of these different elements, there's the wetland area, there's the buffer area, there's the steep slopes, there's the tree preservation. It feels to us that if we're responsible for preserving those natural elements, that the cluster development would be the better one. It feels a little difficult to put into the deeds all of the details of all of the different aspects that this property has. And it feels a little bit unrealistic to think that property owners would become experts in this code and all the different elements of the code. And therefore, our feeling was that the risks, not just a single risk that we felt would be easy to put into the deeds of each property, but we actually felt that these various areas, the wetland, the historic, the woodland, and the steep slope would just be too complicated to make sense of. So our recommendation was that we should actually review the cluster division, because there it's very, very clear the area that the homeowner has ownership of and all the areas that are preserved and protected by our code. And it does mean that it's much easier to manage the encroachment onto those areas. And again, when you look at properties along that road, it is everyone who has property that goes to the road has turned it into sort of lawns and other things. And just because that's the area that is preserved, that's the area with the 100-foot buffer, that's the area that is wetland, that is connected to the stuff across the road. And the code states that if it is connected by those culverts, it needs to be considered as the same body as the body across the road.
Okay.
So that was our conclusion. The other piece in here was whichever determination we go on, we think it's really important to make sure that we do preserve some of the tree and the landscape, because that's what that area is known for. It's a scenic byway. It's got, and the people who live in that area are very concerned about the loss of the woodland and the habitat that's there. So the other piece would be to make sure that whichever one we go in, we know where the larger trees and we know which trees are there, because it's so easy for a mistake to happen and some of the trees get cut down. So I don't know whether that's a formal audit or an informal audit, but some audit of what are the preserved trees that are on the steep slope that are in the wetlands, so that if anything happens, we know what we need to go back to if there was a remediation action, or if somebody inadvertently cuts all those trees down, how we might actually restore that back to what it was. So that was our
Okay, good.
3 conclusions.
Thank you. So, think maybe Andy, can I go with you next? And then we'll hear from the board. How's that? Is that okay with you guys? Okay.
Well, I think those are all good points. I think a lot of the things you talk about are, goals on the cluster subdivision to try to achieve that other thing. I think a lot of those goals are achieved already in some of the regulations that are already in place. And I can kind of go through some of that regulatory stuff, but I think then also, Dan, maybe you could talk about how the design accounts for some of that stuff already. I think that the wetlands, for example, have been vetted by the New York State DEC. They came out, they took jurisdiction and said that they are connected across the street. So that's happened. They put a 100-foot buffer on it, where they're also protected by our town wetland law. So there's kind of belt and suspenders on that, and our wetland inspector has also been to the site. So I think that's something that is already protected, much more so than, you know, in other towns. Most towns don't have a wetlands law. So I think there's a lot of protections in place, and Dan can talk about how, you know, how the lots are laid out around the buffers, but those 100-foot buffers are already protected by both the DEC and the town.
But we have seen quite a lot of encroachment and overcoming those when we haven't identified them clearly to homeowners, and we haven't identified them as wetland, because people, when we do the subdivision, everybody knows it's wetland, but when somebody buys a house, that communication is limited. And in this instance, it's not just the wetland, it's the steep slopes. It may be historic, and it may be
Yeah, so I think.
buffer area rather than just a pond or a wetland. The sort of buffer is less obvious because it's along the road. So that was our concern.
Yeah, that gets into your other comment about how do we regulate these areas and how do we protect them.
And I think the town code is clear that one of the ways we do that is through a cluster subdivision rather than a conventional one.
Right.
In that instance is our understanding.
So getting into the trees, I'll let Dan talk a little bit more about the trees. I do know that there is a big part of the site that was disturbed pretty heavily when.
Yeah.
Built, there is an area towards the thruway, I believe, that does have some more mature trees. But, I'll let him kind of talk about where those and how those was affected. As far as, archaeological sensitivity, that's something, that's a screening process that the state has for these kind of broad brush areas. There's a lot of them in New Paltz, also due to the Huguenots and so there's large areas that come up as archaeologically sensitive, pretty common. So the next step is to submit an application to SHPO and basically send the subdivision map to them.
It is correct that property
Yeah.
is adjacent or one of those.
It is, but it's also very common. So it's not,
Yeah.
it's not a surprise that it's in there. So process is to submit to SHPO, which Dan, I believe, is in the process of, and then you send the subdivision map to them, and then they come back whether there's impacts or not, you know, judged by the project. So that is something that is accounted for in this process. The steep slopes is something that, will have to be dealt with too. We have steep slopes law, so Dan has to show how he's meeting that portion of the code. I know that a lot of the steep slope on the site are not natural. They were formed during the excavation back in the thruway, but he will need to show that he meets our
I think some of
code.
them might be natural as well. But some of them might be natural as well.
They may be, from my look. Oh, yeah, they didn't look natural to me, but possible. And then as far as, you know, the regulating these protected areas, I think is more of like a legal question. And this board talked about before, how do we protect them? What's the best way to do it? It's something that we're gonna talk about a lot more on this project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so before I hear from you, I'm gonna,
Do you want me to stay here? Or?
no, you can, no, back there. You don't mind. Are you good?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any comments from any other board members?
Well, my impression was that it looked like a lot of the steep slopes were part of the, process of the throughway. And it would be very hard, I think, to cut and fill as we looked at and preserve trees that are 4 inches or greater on those hills. I'm not sure there's a way to do both. There's got to be some disturbance if you're gonna cut and fill. So that's not gonna be easy to do. There's a lot of site work, it seems.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Okay,
Well, I have a couple comments.
Okay.
Procedurally first, can you please resubmit, but for the applicant, a long EAF? All I see is the short EAF in the folder, but it's really classified as type 1.
When do we classify as type 1?
Didn't we at the last meeting and we certificate?
It was unlisted.
Type, on 1110, type 1, re-refer and classify. Was classified as unlisted. I have that in my notes that we did that at the 1110 meeting. And it should
I
be,
wasn't here.
it should be type 1 because it's 15 acres of disturbance and the type 2 action list only, I mean, the type 1 action list and the regulations, anything over 10 acres of disturbance is automatically a type 1 by statute. So it should be type 1. We should have a
I'm
law,
not sure we're gonna have that much disturbance. but
but that's what you have listed on your EAF.
I'd have to check that. Obviously, we have to get into the full, design as well, the sewage disposal system and stormwater design.
Yeah, and that all needs
come
to
up-
be in the disturbance.
Right,
I mean, I'm not an engineer. If it's not 15, it seemed excessive for me for a subdivision, but I don't know exactly what the fill is going to take. So we did re-refer and reclassify at the 1110 meeting, and I believe Melissa did send those back out. So it was reclassified as type 1. So if you could submit a long EAF,
I don't remember that. I'll check my notes.
that would be helpful. Same with SHPO, just making sure that went out. Yeah, we should get a no effect letter. Talking about conventional versus conservation. There's a couple different thoughts I had. This isn't a true cluster. I mean, a cluster subdivision by the statute intended things to actually be clustered together. And looking at the layout now, when you're thinking about whether I want conventional or whether I want like a cluster, is will a land trust or town take the land? What is the benefit of the town or land trust taking that kind of shape? If you, like, there's no difference in the layout between the two. All they did was take the frontage from the main road and pull it up essentially. Which is, is not, which is why, I mean, if you're comparing the two, it's not that much of a difference. One thing the board could ask for if they really want to try to preserve the land would actually, I think, have them redo the cluster. And compare, if that's the way you want to go, if you're comfortable with the layout as it is. I just don't think a land trust would take it as is. I think there's issues with a land trust taking it as is. So if you're swayed by the ENCB, I think you need to have them go back to the drawing board for the cluster and then vote on it. I'm not saying you have to go that way. It's whatever the board feels comfortable with. But I think if you are swayed, I don't think there's not a lot of value with the way it's laid out right now. That being said, you could also move forward with just the conventional and then they're not held to the higher standard of getting an easement. I think talking about some of the ENCB's concerns, I think we should do stone monuments. I think we should have better mapping to show what is actually constrained area. Yes, there is on the plans, there are like some building areas, but I think it should be better and clearly spelled out.
Excuse me, just 1 second. Do we have one of those sheets where we can write these things down and give them to the applicant? I'm just gonna list these things here because
And I think, I like color coding. I think it's easier to read, but engineers have their own way of doing it. I think the buildable envelope needs to be clearly labeled. I think the signage, if you're going to require signage, it's up to the board, should be clearly labeled. And I think monuments need to be addressed to keep the land separate. I do agree with the ENCB about keeping, people out of the land. It's not just buildable. If you actually want to make sure there's no disturbance on the wetlands, I think monuments are a way to do that. Permanent silt fencing is also a way to do that. I don't think it's called silt for permanent. Andy can correct me. There is permanent fencing and stuff you can put around wetlands.
oh, we just talked about that.
Permanent markers.
Or permanent markers, yeah.
So
There's a
that
way
they
to do
during
it, so you
construction.
mark
Right.
each, corner, and then there's a way to do it like around wetlands where you can like stake it, where it's permanently like that, so people don't go in. Yeah, that's just my thoughts, and then, yeah, for the slopes and everything, it's not atypical to find, residential sites with high slopes, and you could just make the buildable area nowhere near the high slopes, therefore they're not, even if they are natural, not disturbed. Same with tree clearing. You could limit tree clearing, you could expand the conservation area. So there's ways you can rearrange the site depending on how the board wants to.
I mean, my biggest concern is what are we gonna do in the cluster? Who's gonna take that?
Exactly,
land?
that's always.
I didn't see that happening. It's a big deal. You put the word, I don't know, I mean, yeah,
But the way it's laid out now, I don't think so. Wildland Trust will take
I don't
it.
think so
It
either.
doesn't mean they wouldn't if it's laid out a different way, but I don't know if there's a way you can, or the town board would be interested in taking it. But you'd have to lay it out differently, because that's not a true cluster.
And I
A
don't
true
think the town
cluster would
board
be
would.
half the land untouched. You know, like split down the middle.
You know, when I was at the site with the planning board, we actually saw, this crossed my mind, but there was some boulders that were, half the size of this table that I think were mucked out when they were taking soil for the throughway. And they were kind of just laid all around, and I thought that would be a nice way to kind of delineate some areas, just put some larger stones along the 100+ foot area from the buffer of I'm sorry, 100 foot plus from the wetland itself, like near the buffer edge, so that there's a physical thing that, and it can be, we started talking about some of the deed restrictions and covenants that we can add in there, but there can be an actual exhibit within the deed as well that can help it identify to people that they know that there's a state wetland on their site. And, that there's some boulders that are gonna be delineating the general 100 foot buffer line that they're not to encroach into. It's just a thought I had when I saw that, because it's a little more natural. We had a site in Hyde Park where we actually put 4x4 monuments with a little placard on the top, and then it was, it doesn't look natural, of course, so I was thinking that maybe that could be something, but, we'll come up with something to hopefully appease the board on that.
Okay, these trees. The bigger mature trees. Maybe we can get them delineated, some of the larger trees.
Yeah, so I think if we can lock in on the layout and start working on our soils testing to be able to really get how things are, we'll delineate any of the trees within that general area of development, and then that way we can work around them as well too.
When you say delineate, you mean a formal tree survey
Yeah, survey of the
showing which
trees.
trees are over 10 inches or whatever in
Yeah.
diameter the board chooses.
Yeah,
Okay, that's good. I think that's
And then your
important.
what's the diameter? Is it in the code? I don't remember.
Actually,
actually.
don't.
It's in site plan, it's 8 inch. But I
On
don't
site
think,
plan?
yeah, I don't think so.
The 18 tree, like you can cut it without anything, but it doesn't say like which tree has to be saved. 8 tree, like the 18 tree, I want to go and cut it, you don't need any permit for that. That's what it says.
Oh, you mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
up to
an
18
8-inch
tree,
tree.
you can
No,
cut
we were
it.
saying that, the code says if you have to do a tree survey, you don't have to like go out there and have a surveyor shoot every one that's like this big, you'd be there forever. But it says you only have 8 inches or larger.
is it 8 inches or 12? I thought it was.
No, 18 tree, like you could cut it without any permit or anything. That's what it
Is
is.
it in subdivision code or is it?
Yeah.
It's in site plan.
Okay, so
I'm looking right
if
now.
we want, we can follow the site plan.
There is another, like for the tree cutting or something, there is some code. for
That's a
that.
different, yes, there's a code on tree clearing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's up to
that's-
8 inch, you can cut it or whatever, you don't need any permit.
Actually, it's, well, this is clear cutting for grading, that's 6 inches.
Yeah, it would be in the site, in zone.
All right, well, you'll check out the code. You know what it says?
You can look.
I don't know exactly, but I know there was different, I think it was from steep slope, it was different to the wetland.
Mhm,
But it's slightly different diameter.
mhm.
I think I remember right, it was steep slope is extension more historic. And then you've got the 55 feet Longstone Road. Very clear, that's what I did.
Do we have the wetland guy go out there, our wetland guy?
Yeah.
He's been.
He's been.
Yep.
So he can talk about whether or not he
We
thinks.
spent already 1.5 year for the wetland and
Oh,
everything.
he was with us. Yeah. All right, I just want to talk, maybe we should talk to him about the trees near the steep slopes and what he thinks if those are really steep slopes or if they're recent steep slopes, I
Right.
think that would make a big difference.
Yeah, what kind of value do they?
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, and I think I had mentioned, you know, when I was given the tour to the planning board, we're mentioning that there's gonna be areas and we have a profile of the road. So there's gonna be areas where there's gonna be cut and there's gonna be areas where there's fill. And the concept was to try to lay it out as good as we can to balance and use some of that on-site soil that we can to create that. And the difficulty with this site is the fact that there is higher, you know, elevations on one side, lower on the other. So it's really finding that balance of that road center line grade so that we have reasonable approaches and driveways to the houses and all that. So it's a difficult one to look at. We've done we've taken a pretty hard look at the road center line to come up with what we have already. But again, I have to prove it out with septic systems and then back it in. So there's a lot of work I have to do in order to really make every lot feel right. So there are gonna be some areas where it might not be the safest thing to just keep a steep slope right off the side of the road or off the side of somebody's driveway either. So we're gonna have to try to balance that. And, you know, we have the areas of the steep slopes shown on the map already. That's per the code, so that's shown in a hatching on the map. So we'll do our best to, you know, preserve some of those areas where we can and
Doesn't your road have to, isn't it town road, the slope next to you can only have a maximum of, I don't know what it is, but they have you going pretty far.
10, right?
generally there's a shoulder and then a
Say 10.
3-on-1.
Yeah.
3-on-1.
So, yeah.
See, that's like the state code.
Mhm,
State code?
I'm sure it might be the township, but.
mhm. All right, so,
It's 12-inch. You're right.
It's 12
is
inches.
Site plan, 12-inch trees.
Yeah, so it's 8.
12-inch trees, that's what I
and then
thought.
12 for site plan.
yeah,
And then 12 are usually, 10 to 12 are usually your typical older trees anyway.
yeah, so 12-inch trees, 10-inch slopes near the road. I mean, my biggest issue, as I said, with the cluster is that a land trust is not gonna want it and it's gonna be complicated. If you can meet many of the points that the ENCB talked about, it sounds like you can. I would be personally okay with you coming back with a plan showing these things. I don't know how you all feel. I also, there was a letter from one of our planning board members. Okay, Matt sent me an email. He's not here tonight. Same thing, he'd like to see tree survey of the mature sleeves, trees and, he likes the conventional plan. I'm not gonna go through this whole thing. So,
Okay, yeah.
it's just,
Can you also, you got a wetlands permit for buffer disturbance. Can you show where you're gonna disturb the buffer?
Oh, yeah, it's on the plans.
It is, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to know, correct?
Yeah, there's a hatch on
Yeah,
there.
I
he
think.
got that from who? From the
DEC.
DEC? Okay,
Yeah, I think for like this, like one colored sheet for like, which could be digital, doesn't have to be. Is always helpful for showing any air disturbance and then any conservation area and buildable area. Cause it allows me at least, I'm talking for myself if the planning works fine. I find it hard to read without colors. A lot of times, cause all the lines just blend together.
possible colors?
Yeah, not something that can be normally filed at the county clerk.
Yeah,
so
it wouldn't be
Be
a,
more of an exhibit for the board.
correct. Yeah, no, it's not, I mean, it'll be a sheet in your final plat, but it won't be, it's not part of the filing requirement. But it allows the board and everyone to clearly see. And homeowners, it's a good exhibit for them to see, and it will be filed, so then they can pull and see the areas of disturbance and see where they can't go. It's typically, it's good, you usually do it in conservation subdivisions, but it's good even with deed
So
restrictions.
there is no area of disturbance except that we are going to go the road. There's nothing for the homeowner or anything. The road will be going to the buffer area a little bit. That's the only thing. There's no more than that.
Well, I put the buildable area on the same sheet. is
So
what I'm
there's no
saying.
build-up area, just like the road, that's it.
No, buildable area for the home. You're gonna have a deed restricted area that's gonna be covered by covenants.
Right.
You gotta show clear
Yeah.
buildable area on the plan. And if you put those on the same in color coding, I think it'd be helpful for everyone.
Classic engineering Everybody likes colors except engineer.
Yeah, sorry, guys. The lawyer wants the colors. I think it's easier, it's much easier for me to follow, but if
We
it's.
all know attorneys can't read plans, so.
So Andy, what do you want to see next time?
I just think they should, respond to the ENCB's concerns, however, the plan addresses their different concerns. I think they should kind of put that in writing. I think a lot of these are dealt with already inherently in how the process works. And they can describe how the layout accomplishes those things. I think, a cluster the lots can only be so small to fit, septics and wells. And so it's difficult to do a true cluster in some ways on this property. So I think,
And that's what I was looking
Yourself
at.
between
I
two
don't think,
roads.
I don't think going back to the drawing board and coming up with a whole new cluster is gonna work. And the cluster as it is, I don't think is that helpful. And a big headache.
I think if you can accomplish all the things that a cluster accomplishes, then I think the conventional is the more practical layout.
Okay,
Yeah, I like the rock idea.
Yeah, you like that? There were some really large ones there and it's definitely not natural. They were lined up in a row and I was like, what was that? And then,
Yeah, you put talking about putting like some kind of like marker on the rock that
You
says.
could even, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. You could take like some sort of a small placard or something, even tack on it into them or something.
who can identify the steep slopes as to whether or not they're,
I think that's Mark
Mark.
about it. I think as far as,
Okay.
whether it's a habitat that's sensitive or. I could deal with the erosion issues, but I think a big part of the steep slopes law was protecting the ridge, and really like, prime habitat kind of stuff. So that would be Mark.
okay. So I think maybe we'll invite Mark to the next meeting. We'll ask him these questions. And the next time you come back, he'll come in and let us know, give us an opinion on that.
You talk about trees as well, what
Mhm.
which ones you think should be-
I don't, this didn't pull any, the mapper didn't pull any, endangered species, right? I don't think it did.
Yeah, what did the?
Looking for the mapper as I'm.
EAF come up with anything
I
on that?
didn't print it. I don't remember actually.
I apologize,
It wouldn't surprise me if we had,
when we didn't
Indiana.
turn that, I think, yeah, that-
Indiana and northern long ears bat.
No, nothing came up with threatened or endangered.
Okay. So that's also a sign that, there's nothing in the habitat. Obviously, things that are not endangered could be, but the mapper is pretty broad with what it pulls.
Usually,
Yeah, if you you'll get, even if you're remotely close to the Hudson River, you'll get like fish, even though there's no river on the property, so,
Atlantic sturgeon.
yeah, always.
Okay, I don't have much on this list other than addressing the ENCB concerns, colors, stone monuments and tree survey. And,
And if the board doesn't want colors, that's just my recommendation. If you're all fine with it, feel free.
okay,
Okay. So weather hasn't been allowing us to do any soil testing just yet, so we'll
Mhm.
just keep playing, see how this winter goes, and so you might not see us for a little while we do that part, and
okay.
then that, at that point, we'll be able to come back much more.
You own this property for a long time, right?
No, I know, I'm just wondering that cluster like that is not possible at all. Why we have to cluster? Why can't we finish one thing at a time?
Well, he's got a direction now, I believe. He's got a direction.
You need about 25,000 square feet. That is more than half acre just for the septic. Then you have to have the well, so 1 acre, just take care of that. Cluster is not getting you anything. So why can't we finish at least one thing at a time so we can move?
I think we just did.
Yeah. I
You
think so
did,
too.
okay, that's good.
Yeah.
And like the wetland thing, like they came back with the thing, that's already taking care of everything. We spent 1.5 years for the wetland, we spent more than $10,000 just for that. And that has been taken care, and why can't we finish that
Well,
thing?
we need all of that information. to
You
come
have all the
out. Yes,
information,
when it
everything
comes
is
in the
there.
site plan.
Why can't we just again wetland, and this is like the 27 acre of the property. And that is tiny thing, that is the area and the main road going there. That is like that should be the concern to the people. And we are just putting our road there. So that is like, that will come in the buffer. And that is nothing like when there are thousands of cars going there and 10 cars or 5 cars will go there. Why should be that matter and why can't we finish that thing? Wetland issues should be done once and forever.
I think that we're definitely heading in the right direction. I think we accomplished a fair amount of things tonight.
Okay, good.
And until we have our next, he's gonna work on a site plan for us and address the concerns of the ENCB. I think we're getting there.
So is it agreed upon that the site plan that we walked is, that's the site plan that we're.
Well, he's gonna try and, go around some trees if he thinks they're big. He's gonna, tweak it.
Right, but that's basically, we're saying to him, you can go ahead and develop this plan, trying to be sensitive to these
And
issues.
I didn't read any,
I read, yeah.
I didn't read anywhere
Like
where
they
it
said,
says like that.
I think that's.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there was like an unspoken elephant in
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't see any,
Know where he's going.
Yeah.
I
say, I
can't,
don't see anywhere it's written like for the steep slope, 4 inch of the trees. What town law says about that, I want to read that.
we have that.
No, I didn't see that anywhere. I read on.
I thought you were gonna wait till he did the tree survey, but if you're comfortable with the layout, you can vote at this meeting or you can vote at the next meeting.
No, I'd like to see him come back with something to make sure that some of these things are addressed before we vote on the exact layout. I think that's more appropriate.
Okay, so he shouldn't go and develop this
The entire
much
site
further,
plan.
other than to try to address these issues.
He's
Right.
also on an open seeker, so like he could do soil testing, but he can't be going out and grading the property. It's an open.
No.
No, we're
He's
not.
Very aware, not.
We're not saying to grade,
You can't at this moment anyway. No, you're saying design.
design, can you?
Yeah, soils testing is different, yeah.
You're talking like design, he could at the risk.
Yeah,
Right,
Right, it would be his risk if he
Right.
did that.
okay. Well, that, I think they need to be clear. Otherwise, that you can still lose this if it doesn't meet some of these criteria to the board.
You are talking about the
shouldn't go
tree
too far.
survey. You want me to tree survey 27 acres of the land?
No. The tree's over 12 inches
On 27 acres of land?
on,
Just
I
the
was
road.
gonna show if it's okay, a general in the area of the development that we're showing.
That's what, let's get that clarity on
Yeah.
where the tree survey on the road and the
First of
buildable
all, we
area.
don't know
The
where is the
buildable area.
road, where is that thing. So if
That's
you
what I would
want,
recommend, on the area that's gonna be disturbed.
Right,
Okay,
to try to minimize
To
the
do the
cutting
tree
of the large
survey, like,
trees.
no need to survey all the trees next to the throughway, when we're
Yeah.
not doing anything over there.
that's a good clarification.
Yeah, but you could see if the road runs through, a 15-inch tree is the
Right.
purpose.
Yeah,
So that'll.
and the proposed house layouts where we are proposing it in that area.
Septics.
Yeah,
too.
yes, it does.
Yeah. but you
That
can't
makes
really-
sense.
You can't really do that until you do. the
Yeah, I know,
soil
that's why-
testing and you have.
Yeah, I've got a good
exactly.
idea.
Okay,
I've
all
got a
right.
good idea from the soil maps and all
Okay.
that, so I mean, we've got things laid out, meeting the separation requirements, so I think we'll be in good shape with that. Okay.
That helps.
okay, I think
Not the
we
whole-
have it. I'm gonna ask you to sign this. I'm gonna give you this. It's just a
Okay.
few of the things we talked about. It's not comprehensive.
Right there.
Yeah, please.
You just got a new car.
Yeah.
You just.
Normally you need things before I sign it.
Melissa, I'm giving this to you.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'm gonna look into the type 1 thing, because I don't think it was type 1, but I'll get back to you on that.
Yeah, I can look through the minutes. so.
Yeah. Yeah,
I can.
She wasn't there. We'll
I
check it.
wasn't here, but I would think that if it got done.
Yeah, I mean, it's in my notes, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm in charge of seeker as the attorney, so.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what happened, and when I saw it was 15 acres, I made them recirculate, so I'm like, regardless, I made Melissa recirculate, so it's been recirculated, and leaving
Well, with a short form,
with a short form, because I didn't realize there wasn't a long form in the file.
yeah.
I think it's okay as long as you submit a long form, I think it's okay, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean,
There's no, the only agency that could take lead is town, I don't think town board of review. We've already said that, so.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank
right,
you.
thank
You
you.
have a copy of the report,
The ENCB report?
I didn't have it with the letterhead.
I can.
That's a different version than I have. I have
Okay.
one without letterhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do have this, but it just didn't come with letterhead.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Can I have this?
Yeah, you can have it.
Copies?
There's another one.
He's got it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
That was the
Yeah.
color. Much nicer.
That's the.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got that. Yeah, I've got that.
I can write that for them. Based on
It shall be unlawful to create any disturbance or remove any more than 2 trees with a diameter greater than 4 inches when measured at 1.5 feet from the ground on the steep slope as defined by this section, with the exception of exempt activities defined.
It'll come down to, are those really natural steep slopes or
Well,
does it matter?
I think it's impossible to develop and not grade and
Thank you.
there's got, that's gonna come up and there's gotta be give and take on that, I think.
Yeah. Like what makes logical sense, kind of, in the spirit of the intent for
Right.
preservation.
We'll do our best to figure that out.
Thank you
Okay,
so
thank you
much.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Oddly, I got something in my email saying that it has nothing to do with us, but the college gym is gonna be expanded and wanted to know if we wanted to have some part in lead agency. So it's in the village, so it's something, the college has never asked us anything ever. But, and it's in the village. I don't know if they've ever asked the village either. So I just wanted to let you know.
It's interesting, cause they just kind of do what they want, right?
Yeah, when they put new buildings up or
They're nice.
new additions to I mean, it's a state college, what do they have to do to get they don't go for building permit?
They
locally.
might,
No,
I
It's
know they
really
don't. go to
weird. They're
planning
not
board.
subject to zoning at all. There is no zoning for the college. And it's state
I
land.
don't think they get building permit either. I don't think they just do them.
Yeah.
Nah, so that why they would send that to, where,
I don't know. I have it. I'll send it to you when I find it. I have to find it.
And then for seeker, they declare, they're asking if you're interested in lead agency, is that what it's?
Someone sent it to me. I actually,
forwarded it to you.
you forwarded it to
Yeah.
me. Can you find, do you have it?
I don't have access to it on this computer,
village board.
unfortunately.
Yeah, part of the college is actually in the town.
Sure.
Oh, I haven't.
Where on your map?
Yeah, I could show.
Maybe it's in the town? Like that southern area?
Yeah, you know where the Bella Terra apartments on like,
I do.
there's like the college and then the Bella Terra's over, it's in that corner, it's not really in the town. It does, the college actually does expand past the village.
Yeah, the state university construction fund has declared.
Would you
its
have the
intent
date
to be
maybe?
lead
I could-
agency
maybe.
for the purposes of review and action, the project
was-
is below.
Before
Got it.
Christmas,
Mm.
that,
Adrian's
I think you have no permitting authority, so you couldn't declare yourselves lead agency anyway,
Right.
so.
I think they're just declaring,
Yeah,
declaring
but
lead agency.
You usually send it out to interested and involved agencies, but you'd be involved, you wouldn't be interested, because I don't know what permitting authority you'd have.
Would be interesting.
What's the date of that?
Yeah.
Adrian?
This email is.
Sorry, I said it backwards, yeah, you know what I meant.
Yeah.
12/29.
Okay, I don't have it, but anyway, just interesting, and I guess we'll have a bigger gym.
Nice.
Motion to adjourn?
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. You can.